this computer. Okay, sorry guys. So the goal is to make sure that an emergency vehicle can reach the campsites and get in and get back out. The road back to this campsite is narrow. So just keep that in mind. Typically, I try to like give troops an hour, like pace people going back there. But just keep that in mind. We do have a big parking area right here. So if you're at either of these campsites, you can come park over here. We have the gym parking that typically gets pretty full. We can also park along off of these driveways. Just kind of, pull off and don't be uppy downy, yeah, stack it in there. And we do have some limited parking here. The idea for this parking here, though, is this should be for the people who roll in late so that they are not trying to, in the dark, take their vehicle up this road to a parking spot, because this is going to be, this is command central. So there's going to be a lot of youth walking around and that sort of thing. So the more we can limit the movement of vehicles, the better. So once you've set up camp, you're going to come up to the command tent as soon as possible. We will have it open by usually 6 p.m. And the patrol will come up and say, hey, I'm with South Carolina 0555. We're patrol the squirrels. And we'll have a check-in form where we'll go, okay, this is your troop. This is your name. Make sure it's spelled right. And we will present you with your patrol packet. We are working on having some pre-recorded videos so we do not lose our voices. I believe last year was our first year that we did that. And so you'll watch a video explaining what's in your packet. The important bits is there are some maps that look a lot like, see if I can pull them up. There are some maps and some instructions that say something along the lines of let's put this up. From quarter 1, go 260 degrees for 800 feet or something like that. And so you'll sit down with your map and your compass and you will plot out where you think the station is. So you'd be like, okay, I think Foxtrot is here. You're gonna do that for all of the stations. There are 8 stations total. Then you'll take it up to the command station and they will look. And if you're right, we'll put a nice little sticker marking where that station is. We might also brief you on any information specific to that, like, hey, you need to enter from this area right here or something like that. And if it's wrong, we send you back out and you have to figure it out again. Just to be clear, you are not actually walking to corner 1 and then turning and taking your bearing and then walking 500, 600 feet. You are sitting down wherever you happen to be and using your map and your compass to figure out where these are. So we do have these dotted lines on the maps to help you orient to north. They're not the best, but they work. And this is a topo map of the property. On Thursday, someone asked me, how much walking do you do during the night? I want to say 5 miles. I may have heard less. It all kind of depends on the routes you take and that sort of thing. So patrols will come here, check in, get their patrol packet. Adults, there will be a tent over here, the volunteer tent. So you'll go over there, check in and say, hey, I'm here. You'll see if you've already volunteered, your name should already be on a list. We try to have all of the station leaders there so that they can go, okay, hey, Josh might be like, okay, cool, you're part of fire. Come over here, I'll tell you what we're doing. By, I believe it's 8:39, we want to have all of the adults up here so that they can follow their station leaders to their stations and get ready. And then 9:30 is when we want to be sending out the patrols. So when we call everyone together, well, all patrols, all youth should be up here by 9 p.m. You will stand single file with your patrol. and we'll tell everyone what station they're going to start with. Everyone has to start with a particular station, but from there you can choose what station you go to. We'll brief you on any of the rules. Usually it's already stuff that's in your packet, but we'll have some reminders like do not go through the woods. You must follow the trails. Don't go in the water, don't pet the deer, that sort of thing. We'll pray over you, and then we will send you out. Typically, we are done between 3:30. Let's see. If you are arriving late, you may not have time to set up camp. You may be rushing over here. Our goal again is to start by 9. Your patrol. So there's 2 requirements for your patrol to get started on the event. One is the briefing, where we give you your first station and prayer review. The other requirement is that your map's being checked off. So if for whatever reason you roll in late, and you get there in time for the briefing, you have time to work on your maps. Your time for the event does not start until your map check is complete. You may have less time to complete the event overall because the event ends at 3:30. But as far as speed is concerned, because we do give a ribbon for speed, because we do want to incentivize everyone to be done quickly and efficiently, but safely, so we can all go to bed on time. But yeah, your time for speed won't start until your map is checked off and the debriefing is done. So I have fun spreadsheets to keep track of all of that. Throughout the night, you do need to stay on the trails. You want to be quiet, particularly, for instance, this trail right here goes right past this campsite. So as a note, we do try to put campground masters people to help direct people. Last year we had an issue where someone, I guess maybe they were running late, they just drove straight in, parked, and put up their tent on the trail. And everyone had to walk past their tent. So we do want to keep tents off the trail. But when you do walk past campsites, do be quiet. There are some adults who are needing to sleep. And you do not want to anger those that make us coffee and food in the morning. Also, a note on that, do not be loud around Leadership Lodge, particularly Saturday night and Saturday morning. Afternoon, we'll be napping, but those precious few hours of sleep that we can get between finishing scoring and the award ceremony are very precious. So don't be loud. Let's see what else we got. Ideally you finish all 8 stations, and when you're done, you go back to the command station to check in, and we write down the time that you are done. That way, you have a chance at earning the speed ribbon. If you do not check in at the command station and you go straight to bed, we will find you and we will wake you up, and there will be consequences. We've never had that happen before. If for whatever reason you decide that you don't want to do a station, just let us know. I have had patrols come up to me before and say, hey, we are done. We decided we weren't, the last station we had to do was night navigation, and it is too early in the morning and we are too tired. We are happy. We have had fun. We are proud of the effort we have put in at the stations. We're done. So you can skip a station. You do get a 0 at that station. So you are the first loser there. And that will affect your score overall. But it is a viable option, should you decide. At 3 a.m., if you have not completed all of the stations, we will be contacting you. We have a way of tracking everyone. Let me see if I can pull that up, because it's a fun sheet. I just finished making it all work. So we have this lovely sheet where it'll populate with all your names, your troop numbers, and so we can see throughout the night who has been where.
Are you sharing your screen? Or are you supposed to be?
I thought I'm sharing my screen. Did I stop sharing my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Tim, can you not see it?
No, I can't. Maybe it's on my side. Okay.
It
Yeah,
means
we'll try to
sharing and
reshare.
share again. Just because you never know when turning something off and back on again works.
That works. Thanks.
No worries. Adults who are at stations, you will have access to view this as well. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I haven't seen anybody in 30 minutes, where's everyone at? You can kind of see. This year is the first year that I'm going to try. We're going to have 3 possible things. We'll have in progress, so someone has arrived at your station and they are working on the scenario. They're done, so they're out. We are debating, and we do want to hear back from the adults whether you want to use the wait list feature. So because we have 30 patrols and 8 stations, we try to have the option for 4 patrols to be working at each station at a time. But we will still end up with some stations having patrols waiting. So Steph and I, or not Beth, for those who don't know, I have an identical twin sister named Stephanie. She is also known as Not Beth. So she will be there. In fact, you might see more of her with me. We've talked about having the waiting so that a patrol can come up and say, hey, I'd like to do this station. Okay, you are second on the wait list. Do you want to wait? Okay, let me go ahead and scan you and say that you're here and waiting. It's debatable whether or not we will use it because it's helpful, but it's not critical information. It's helpful so that if we're trying to track someone down, we know where they're at. We potentially know where they're at. But so we'll be discussing that with station leaders when they arrive on Friday. But we will be able to see what station you have been to, have not been to. So about 3 in the morning, if we see that you have not finished a station or 2, we're gonna end up calling you and saying, okay, where are you at? Where are you headed? Okay, you're heading towards fire. Okay, let me call Josh, see, hey, is there anybody down at fire who will hang out and let this patrol finish? And so there are times where we will, patrols will end at 3:30 because the adults at the station they were heading to said, yeah, I'll stay up a little bit later to get this patrol in. If we call the station and adults are like, nope, we are done, we are already packed up, then that patrol will not be able to finish that station.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
you do have a hand up for a question.
Ooh, Ken.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Did I miss something about each of the stations getting some kind of device to be scanning people?
Yes. Part of it's encouraged that everyone have their cell phone on them. One of the things in the patrol packet is going to be a QR code. We print it off on like a single sheet of paper. So it's a big QR code that the patrols are instructed to, when they get to a station, they go up to the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper can scan that code. You want to say hi? The gatekeeper can scan that code. Say hi, Emily. And it pulls up a Google form. It auto-fills the patrol number. And then you select from a drop-down list what station they're at and click enter. And that's how we do the tracking.
And is that with our cell phone, or is that with a device that you guys are going to give us?
Cell phone. So
Okay, so we need to have our phones fully charged, or maybe a backup battery just in case.
yes, that would be great.
Okay.
I was thinking about that.
Last question about the waiting list. Now, does the waiting list actually put the patrols in order as they came up to wait? Because sometimes I know when I've done this, we would have 3 or 4 patrols waiting in line, and we're trying to juggle who was first and who was second, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it won't do that.
Okay.
So typically at a station, how I imagine the station being organized is that you have one person who's the gatekeeper that all of the patrols come up to and say, hey, I'm here. So they could have a sheet of paper where they're jotting down patrol numbers. And then, as substations free up, they can go, okay, patrol 5. Okay, you're gonna go over here with so-and-so. And like call up patrols and sort them to their different substations. And then the leader of the substations would be able to also like scan their QR code and say, okay, they're in progress. And then at the end, scan them again and say they're done.
And
So
final question on that. How is the reception out there? Because I know some carriers may be stronger than others. Is there a kind of like a Wi-Fi available that we can tap into to ensure that we're able to keep everything up to date?
I have not heard of any service, uh, any of the major carriers having any issues. Just about everywhere on the property, I think, yeah, everywhere on the property we've had cell coverage. I know I've had leaders who've had Verizon and AT&T, and I feel like T-Mobile. So, I mean,
Okay, thank you.
if
No,
we're
I'm not aware of any dead spots either,
yeah,
Elizabeth.
okay, excellent. Okay. So, speaking of patrols and check-ins and wait lists, I would advise patrols to not all have the same great idea that they had last year at HG. All the girls had a bright idea that said, if we're going to have to end at the command station, let's do the stations at the back of the property first, so that when we're done with the ones up front, we're right there at the command station. Problem is that about 30 patrols all did the same thing, and they were severely backed up. So if patrol walks up and says, hey, can I join the wait list? And they're like, yeah, there's 6 patrols ahead of you. This and the majority of stations, I think only teamwork and maybe recon enemy camp, and maybe Morse code, but probably not Morse code. Those 2 might take less than 10 minutes. All of the other stations could take you 20, 30 minutes to complete. So rather than waiting around for 30 minutes to an hour, you could be like, we're really close to this other station. Let's go check that out. And let's see there. And if we were able to track the waiting list, how many patrols are waiting, it's possible that they could ask the gatekeeper, hey, what's it like? I'm about to head over to Gulf Station. What's it like there? They look and they're like, there's no one on the wait list there. It might be free. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go over there. So there is strategy involved in night ops, particularly for stations that do get backed up. Okay, question. Are we supposed to send a scout to each station before the whole team goes over? Some stations wanted it last year and others didn't. It is ideal to send up a contingent. It occurs to me that you want to be within line of sight of the patrol. So rather than all, say, 6 of you gathering around and kind of clustering around the station gatekeeper, having one person, like your patrol hang back, 10, 20 feet, and one person go up and say, hey, this is my patrol number, here's my thing, that sort of thing. Be orderly, be mindful of your surroundings, because there are 30 other patrols. Be careful where you step, because sometimes some people can take it really seriously and camouflage themselves and can be hiding right beside the trail. So we will but make sure that we clarify the scout question in the briefing. On the note of being camouflaged, 2 things to note. One, patrols should not be playing pranks on each other, jumping out and scaring each other, otherwise harassing each other. Don't bring super soakers, pack in your backpack to go attack your brother's patrol or whatever. Also, particularly for the guys, if you plan on wearing camouflage face paint, do some research about how to remove said face paint, because you may want to bring some makeup remover wipes, unless you want to sport that throughout the weekend. So let's see. So throughout the night, roaming guards, couriers will be gathering score sheets and bringing them back to the commands to the leadership lodge right here, where I and eventually more scorekeepers will be, where we'll be entering in all the information into the spreadsheets. At the end of the event, is when I get most of my scorekeepers in, and ideally we knock out all of 30 patrols times 8 stations. So 240 score sheets go, we process that all in, scan them. Every year we've improved our processes. So hopefully this year it will be just as quick. I was thinking something scoring. I'll touch on the scoring in a minute. So the youth will go back to their campsites, sleep, and at 11 a.m. in the morning, we gather right here at a bonfire pit. We do not typically ever have an actual bonfire at 11 in the morning. We used to have a bonfire when we had the award ceremony at night in the evening. However, we recognize that some troops can't spend Saturday night. And we were kind of sick of the people who were winning not being there. So a note about that, your patrol, the majority of your patrol must be present in order to get placed above 4th place. So for instance, I know of one troop who has an awesome opportunity to do a blacksmithing workshop. And so one of their patrols is going to be leaving at like 10 a.m. in the morning to go to that. The other patrol will hang out and stay so that if they earn something, they win, first that if they earn first place at any station or first, second, or third overall, they can be recognized. So if you're not present, you basically will put in a deduction that makes sure that you are at your highest rank will be 4th place. I will endeavor to let patrols know if that happens, what their actual score was, so that they have they know if we had been there, we were 2nd place. We could have, that way, year to year, where you need to improve and that sort of thing. Typically, we don't have any issue with patrols leaving. Also, you are not allowed to leave the campsite until 7 a.m. in the morning, unless you arrange it with myself and Steve first. This is because we do not want sleep impaired drivers driving home. We have had we've never had anyone get into an accident or anything like that, but we essentially we try to make sure that everyone has at least a couple hours of sleep before they head home in the morning, if that's needed. I think we've only made 2 exceptions this year. Let's see. So after the award ceremony, or at the award ceremony, you will get your troop patches, unless we manage to give it to you earlier than that. I've not yet discussed with Brian Peeler about when we're handing out the t-shirts. But you will get your troop participation ribbon and patches. And then if you win first place in something, you will get a ribbon for that as well. Typically this debriefing award ceremony, we have the leaders from each station come up and they talk about what happened at their station during the night with the highlights. And then we recognize the patrols who got first, second, and third. Only the first place troops or patrols get a ribbon for the stations. Then we do speed and overall. Overall gets a first, second, and third. This year is the first year that Morse code will be manned, which will be interesting because the Trail Life Weekend, I have fewer adults pre-registered to volunteer, but we'll work it out. So for Morse code, the code will change between weekends. So brothers cannot give their sisters the answer. And the scoring in general, well, the scoring for Morse code is going to be based on who is most accurate with the tiebreaker of who did it the fastest. So there will be a time element to that. In general, and I think actually in the majority of stations, if not all of them, I think all of them now actually, we use time as the tiebreaker. So you are timed. Your fire station, for instance, that is mostly time. Josh and I are going to have fun working out the logistics of how many bonus points or how much bonus time you get for using the ferro rod versus matches, or what time penalty you're going to get if it's more than X number of matches. We will be providing the matches, the ferro rod, and we will have some knives there that you can use as a striker. You are welcome to use your own knife as a striker. Steve tested the striker's piece of the ferro rod setup, and he said it was terrible. So he ordered some basic knives, but I expect everyone to be carrying a knife. Let's see what else we got going on. So usually particularly this year, my goal with the scoring is to make sure that when you arrive, if you are going to get penalized for something, or if you might get a bonus for something, you are told, do not mark with that, my dear. Thank you, it was an expo marker. You are told what that bonus is. Like at fire station, if you're told we're going, because it's time-based, we're going to not reduce your time by 3 minutes. So if you use the ferro rod, so instead of getting a score of 10 minutes, you'd get a score of 7 minutes if you use the ferro rod. And if you know that, then you can say, okay, when we were practicing, it took us 5 minutes to get a fire started with the ferro rod. It is not worth it for us to use the ferro rod or whatnot. So I'm going to try to provide that sort of information so that you can strategize when you arrive at a station to go, okay, do we want to go for this bonus? Or, maybe strategize to make sure that you don't get penalized for something. That sort of thing. Let's see. I've just been talking a whole lot. What am I missing? Troops are welcome to spend Saturday night. I'll be sending out an email tomorrow to see if anybody is interested in doing the wildlife class with Mr. Bill. He's the groundskeeper here, and he has a classroom set up with a whole bunch of taxidermied animals, everything from deer to baby beavers, all sorts of things. And so he is a wealth of information. He's been doing a lot of stuff. He's the groundskeeper of Camp Bacon. So he does a lot with conservation and that sort of thing. So I'll be sending out information to the troops who are staying Saturday to see if anybody's interested. And then everyone should be out by noon on Sunday at the very latest. Am I missing anything? Anybody have questions? Ice. There is ice in the property. This is the admin building. They're going to leave the kitchen door unlocked. And there's an ice machine in there. So just be careful not to track a whole bunch of mud and stuff in, and to close up the ice container after you're done. Any questions?
When are you going to send out our camp assignments? Have you already done that and I missed it?
No, I have not yet done that. I think I'm waiting on a few troops. I'm gonna probably be texting a few people. We're looking at registration and campsite arrivals. So, but I got 13 troops in, and I'm not gonna pull this one over because this has everyone's, email address and everything. But on the Trail Life side, we've got 17 troops. So there's 4 troops I've not heard from yet. And we liked knowing the arrival plan and how everyone is going to be arriving. Because, like, for instance, this troop is possibly coming in at 9. So I try to I use a combination of special requests, like if they have someone who is handicapped or has to have power. And then I look at arrival times and preferred camping method. So, if your entire troop plans on hammock camping, I'm not going to stick you at Horizon Hill. But if you don't tell me you're doing that, I can't help you. And there's no guarantee. So if you are planning on a hammock camping, bring a tent, a spare tent. Go see Daddy. Let's see.
You did have a question about ferro rods, and I went ahead and answered it since I'm leading that station.
Yes. Yeah. Keep in mind the equipment list patrols. So take a look at that. I think I have a blog post on the website about kind of just reiterating and expanding on what you should be carrying with you. It's essentially the same thing that's on the page about patrol equipment, but I just kind of reordered it based off of the 10 essentials. So things like first aid supplies, we may or may not be providing supplies for you to use at first aid. So keep that in mind. You may get deducted points if you have to borrow supplies that we do provide. Next year, we are definitely not going to provide materials. And there will be a bigger penalty if you don't have things. So the idea is think of it as if you are going backpacking on a backpacking trip with your patrol. What do you need to be bringing with you? Fire station, as a reminder, only fire starters in their raw and uncombined form. So you can make, char cloth. If you make it yourself, you can use it. You cannot use commercially purchased things. You cannot take wood shavings and pre-mix it with candle wax and, wrap it in wax paper, that sort of thing. No petroleum jelly, Vaseline, rubbing alcohol, hand sanitizer, hairspray, nothing like that is allowed. You can use cotton balls. You cannot have the cotton balls pre-dipped into anything. Yes. One person had asked about sugar and something else. So we are providing the spark generator, the method of starting the fire. You're bringing the core fire starter. When I do recommend that patrols have an extra backpack, and as they travel around, they collect fire material. So collect dry twigs, these, the things that you're going to need for your fire, because, we got 30 patrols coming through. And so the area around the fire station might get picked clean. So you are allowed to collect materials when you arrive at camp, natural materials. Do not bring outside firewood in. Keep it reasonable. The idea is, I, as someone in Georgia, should not be bringing logs I get from my backyard up to Camp Aiken. We have the Joro spiders. I don't know if you have Joro spiders up there yet. You might. They travel pretty quick, I think. But I don't want to introduce something that's not it's supposed to be in the area. If y'all have not heard of Joro spiders, count your blessings. Let's see. We do have 8 dummies now for first aid station, or to be used at other stations as the need arises. A note about first aid and really any station. If your patrol is chaotic, if they're all talking at the same time, the station instructor may just not hear anything at all. So particularly at first aid and a few other areas, when they say we're giving you a verbal scenario, pay attention. Because for instance, at first aid station, if you go down and you're checking their pulse and you don't say, I am checking their pulse, the instructor is not going to know to tell you whether or not you feel a pulse. Or they're not gonna be able to check off those boxes because we have lots of boxes. If all of your patrol is going crazy, they're who are they supposed to listen to? So keep in mind the patrol assignments. Often patrols will have someone who is their medic, who is their navigation expert, their fire expert, that sort of thing. And keep in mind that you're supposed to work as a team. So if you get to the fire station and your fire expert is telling you I need X, you're like, I'm not gonna do what you say. You've got problems. But that's kind of the fun of seeing how things go. My goal is for everyone to have fun and enjoy themselves. If you end the night and you're miserable, then you might want to consider why it was miserable and work on that. But yes. My goal is also to be able this year to be able to show the scores from the Trail Life and HD weekend and hopefully compare them so that you can see roughly how you did against, a sibling troop. But often, unfortunately, we find kinks issues on the boys' weekend and we fix them for the girls' weekend. So sometimes the scores are not directly comparable. Yeah. It's never terrible stuff, but it's like, oh, this patrol found a loophole. Let's close that for the girls' weekend. Okay. Does anyone else have questions, comments, concerns?
Michael, did that link work for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I know you had t-shirts that were going to be for sale. Do you actually still have any that are like you just has some extras that we can buy on when we get there?
Yes, I do not know the exact number that have been purchased that will be there, but there will be extras, yes.
Okay.
Um,
And I know I saw something about having your lanyard available and
yeah,
ID card. I just became a registered adult as of Monday.
cool.
So are they going to give that to me there when I get there?
Email me and let me know, and I can have one waiting for you. Lanyards cost $5. We basically sell them at cost for those that forget their lanyard. Um, I think I only have like 20, 30 extra lanyards.
Okay.
So thank you for pointing that out. I forgot to mention that. All adults need to be wearing their red leader lanyard the whole weekend. It's the only way that we know that you are not a unidentified person that we need to tackle. I'm not going to actually tackle anyone. But, the idea is that, yes, it might make you more visible in the night, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. We'll also be looking, everyone who comes in, all the adults will need to show their ID card so that we can confirm their registration date or their expiration date, their membership expiration date and their youth protection date. So no adult will be allowed on the property without showing that. And if they don't have it, we'll need to print it. Where do we get the lanyard from? Your troop might have some. If you don't, we will have some. Typically, troops will purchase the lanyards and provide it to their leaders, or they might charge you the cost of the lanyards as well. So if you forget, it's not the end of the world. You will be charged $5 even if we have to give you a generic lanyard. That's so that we can track to know how many we need to order for next year. I do have both Trail Life and AHG lanyards, so if I run out of one, I might dip into the other. Yes, you can print your own ID cards from AHG Family or Trail Life Connect, which I can. Oh, I turned off my keyboard. Just so that everyone knows how to do that, because I don't mind showing you guys my information because you already have my email address and my phone number, and and my mailing address because some people have sent me checks. Profile, Zoom, share screen. Trail Life Connect and AHG Family are very similar. I'm pretty sure they're built on the same foundation. So you go to your profile, and then usually there's a print ID card, which you can get the PDF. As a note, if I ever request your ID card, what I want is the PDF because I can print that. Printing an image, not so easy. We will have a printer and we will have internet and computers. So if I don't have your lanyard or your ID card, you can print. You'll have to log in and all that, which might mean that you will have to step aside and wait a minute, and you might get delayed, and which would not be fun if you really needed to go to the bathroom. So, for instance, this is the HG one. I like decorating with the little lapel pins. So there's also a Trail Life one. I have both of my ID cards, although I actually need to reprint my HG one. I am no longer the area event coordinator for the North Atlanta area or troop coordinator either. I'm free. I am an
What
adult.
are you going to do with yourself?
I know. Hopefully focus on night ops because we really want someone to run a spring night ops for both Trail Life and HG, either or. When my dad went up on a couple Saturdays ago, he and Brian Peeler were the only ones who were able to go and scout the property and work on the trails. But they were talking, and Brian said that he would do a night ops except for what I do, all of the administration.
Sure.
So I am going to be working with some people to do some more automations. I think this year is probably our best year as far as on registration side, the headache. Because last year we used, I think, RegFox, and that was a pain and expensive. Google Forms is free. So I only heard from one troop who did not like the Google Forms, which I realize is because in order to access the registration form, you had to log into Google because it required you to upload documents, which I recognize is annoying. However, I must weigh time, how much time everyone spends.
So you did have a question, and I did answer it, but make sure I answered it correctly for you. I have a regular red one. I was asking if I can use that one in case I can't get an official AHG one. And I just said it should be red, but it needs to have some level of identification on it. But it could be just solid red, but it should be red.
Yeah, I have some spare red ones, just plain red ones. Ideally, it's got the HG or the Trail Life stuff on it. But honestly, this is the most important part because if I see someone wearing a red thing, I can go up to them, and if you're acting suspicious, I'll be able to be like, here, let me look at that. Your name is the same as my name. On the note, as well as about the lanyards, is remember that you need to be 2 deep. Adults need to be 2 deep, and youth need to always go around in groups of 3. It's one of the reasons we double the number of porta-johns at campsites. It is just good wisdom and common sense to not get up in the middle of the night and go by yourself to the flushy toilets. Because that's a building that's enclosed and there's no one else there. Nothing's ever happened. But always be aware of making sure that you're not alone, that sort of thing. So if I see any, particularly if I see any adults, because I think adults are the worst offenders of going off and walking by themselves, I might get on to you about that because I take health and safety seriously. It's also why I try to make sure that we have sufficient adult leadership at the stations to where if someone needs to go refill water bottles or go to the bathroom, they can take a buddy with them. So keep that in mind. Yes, next year the t-shirt order will be included into registration in some form or fashion. I think we're still going to leave it optional, but I'll collect all that information and send out one invoice to the troops for registration and t-shirts. Yeah. Any other questions?
Elizabeth, you showed a chart earlier of the different troops and how they were arriving, whether they were caravanning or scattered.
Uh-huh.
So you explained early on what to do if there was a caravan and, you know, adults would get out and get all the information. How about for troops that are arriving scattered? What's the process for that?
It would still be the adult gets out and goes up and says, "Hey, I'm with this troop. I just arrived with these two boys or these two
Okay.
youths."
All right.
We check them off.
Okay. And so I might not have heard correctly, are there materials to be handed off at that point, or is that later inside the camp at the
The adult will be handed a map of the campsite, hopefully 2 maps so that you can give one to your youth and told where you're camping so you can go do that. If it's at 6 p.m. or after or whatever time we decide to open, we'll let you know when you arrive what time patrol check-in opens. After you set up camp or at any time really, your youth can then go to the command station and pick up their patrol packet. We do not require that the whole patrol be there in order to get their patrol packet. So I might warn the youth that, you know, if Johnny arrives first, he might go over there and say that their name is the Skunks. And you might be stuck as the Skunks. So figure out your patrol name. We do have the ability to change it, but we have also before let the first couple of boys who come up and say, "I'm part of this patrol." Okay, that's your name now.
And what time does the that first stop open outside of the gate?
Check-in, I try to have it open by the time the first troop should arrive. So let's see, when would that be? On the trail life side,
Yeah, I think I flagged this as 4 o'clock, Gene.
Yeah, I think the first two troops said that the earliest they'll arrive is 4. So we will probably have it open at 3:30. If you're gonna arrive, oh wait, there's one group that said 3. So we'll probably have it open by like 2:45. If you're going to arrive earlier, I'm gonna send out, make sure everyone has my cell phone number so you can just shoot me a text and say, "Hey, we're 30 minutes out." That sort of thing. The AHG side, our first troop is arriving at noon. So that's fun. We tend to be very punctual with the girls. They get there early. We've got a couple people coming late, but it's both a blessing and a curse. It means I'm going to be out there longer, but we'll get more people arrive easier, which actually will be good because at the same time we'll be having the Peak 3 guys come in. So fun times. Yeah. Only other thoughts I have is remember to follow the Camp Aiken rules as far as don't climb, I think it's over 10 feet. Don't get into the water. Don't damage the gym property. We had to pay to replace some things last year. Do not play with night ops material, particularly guys. Several years we have had issues with patrols playing with like the canoes that we have used in the past in the gym, and damaging things. Particularly also for the guys, because we will often leave something set up for the girls' weekend. Be praying for good weather for the girls' weekend. Currently, it's projected to rain, but it's still far enough out that who knows what will happen. We do have this event for the most part, rain or shine. We're not, if it's lightning, we've got problems. But if it's drizzling, it's just drizzling and we'll still do it. We've only, I think, had to reschedule and cancel and reschedule once, and that was several years ago, because a hurricane came through.
You got Ken with a question again.
Yes. Are you gonna just highlight some of the bullet points here that you've gone over and send out an email to everybody on this after you're done?
Yes. I believe I have one of my AI things recording and doing a little bullet points for me. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay. Can I think of anything? No, I'm gonna be emailing station leaders, anybody who's volunteered to help with registration or scoring. If you have volunteered to help with scoring, bringing a computer or tablet would be very helpful. Yeah, that I'm heading up Thursday. Steve is heading up tomorrow, and yeah. Feel free to give me a call or send me a text or shoot me an email. Probably shoot me an email, send me a text, call me in that order. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks guys for jumping on. I will be sure to send out the recording and the summary that everyone knows what's going on. And let me know if any questions come up.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I'm ending the meeting for all. You good, Josh? Do we need to talk about anything?
I was just going to ask you, did we just going to figure out scoring when I see you guys?
Yeah, I was
What do you want me to
planning
do?
on setting up the scoring sheet so that, like, for the ferro rod and the matches, it was pulling like from one particular cell so that we could like edit, like, are we going to deduct, 30 seconds for every match that they use over 5, that sort of thing, so we can kind of look at that. Because I also need to pull up the last couple years, because I think we've tracked who has used the ferro rod and who has not. We could see, like, did they take longer or were they pretty fast? That sort of thing. So we know how much bonus we want to get.
All right, that sounds good. No, that works.
Cool. I've actually
That was the only question I had for you directly.
I've done almost all of the score sheets and scenarios except for 3. I think there's 2 other stations that I need to actually build the form and the score sheet, but a lot of that's copying stuff over. So I got 3 stations. First aid is always the hardest.
Very good.
But yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Well,
that's it.
I'll remind Steve to text you when he is heading up tomorrow, so you know his ETA. If you're able to.
Okay, yeah, I'm planning on being down there at noon, so you can just I'll probably reach out either to Bill or something to get the code if I don't have it.
Oh, I can go ahead. I should go ahead and send that out to you and Brian and Ron and the rest of them.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that'd be good. Because I'm planning on being there at noon, and then I'll just work with my laptop or something if he's not there. But that way, I'm not having to drive 40 minutes to get down there once he gets here.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
tomorrow I have to be back up at my house around 5 o'clock, and then I'll be back down there at 8 o'clock first thing Thursday.
Cool. Awesome. I'm excited. This will be fun. I'll probably be arriving sometime in the afternoon. I've not yet decided if I'm leaving before, during, or after my daughter's nap. Be the first time I'm away from her for more than 24 hours.
Oh, she's not coming.
Yeah. She's been having some issues with traveling in the car, like just getting
Oh, okay.
antsy and stuff, like throwing up. And between that and Travis is like, if I'm gonna be stuck watching her the whole time, he's like, let's do it in the comfort of our own home where we've got all of her stuff, all the things.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. I'm like, well, that'll be interesting. So I will probably like right after the awards ceremony be like, love you guys. Bye.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty. Well, have a good one. We'll see you in a couple days.
Cool. Talk to you later. Bye.